what the issue was before and all the things you tried.
So the issue prior to Carlton enrolling into the program, he was having a lot of behavioral issues in school. Just fighting a lot of fighting. He would, when we got to the school, that the last school he's in, which is PS 105, that was his third school, and he was only in third grade, and he had been in his third school. So he was having a lot of issues behaviorally, and I sought counseling for him. I tried all other type of sports and other disciplinary actions, and nothing seemed to work until he met these officers in this program. So,
tell me how it changed and what they were doing together.
First, like I said, he was doing they do the tutoring when they meet, but it was just the fact that he had mentors and he had male figures that he lost because of the incarceration of his dad. So this program allowed him to see people that could relate to him and that understood him, which maybe he didn't feel he got from his teachers and from the counselors that he was speaking to. So I feel like that's what helped him, grow closer to the officers.
And how has it changed him? Like, who's this new child that you have now after this?
I have a straight A student, just about. Carlton was on what you call a behavioral intervention program. Also, in the IEP, we had him removed off of that this school year prior to COVID because he was doing so well behaviorally and academically. So, and I owe that all to this Far Rockaway Coats program.
And you were saying that this was like Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday. They met, they did tutoring, and then sometimes they would bring them right out here to this field and do their practicing and teach them the fundamentals of football, and that it was great.
And then, what do you think would happen if they cut the program?
If they cut the program, they are going to, I feel personally, I'm just going to speak for my son in our own situation, I feel like that my son will regress. I feel like that if they took this program from us, that he would return to those past behaviors. That's what I'm afraid of. That's why I'm so willing to be here and advocate for this program, because I know what it's done for my household.
Has he talked to you about it? Kind of like, wow, this is so amazing. And is he able to talk to has he gotten close to some of the officers where he could just talk? And
he's gotten extremely close to them. We're on they're like family. They come, they sit on my couch. Carlton also plays contact football. He won the championship with that league, and he was the MVP. I called the coaches from this team. I let them know. I said Carlton has won MVP for his contact football, and I'm going to surprise him and take him out to dinner. They surprised us and met us at the restaurant and had dinner with us to reward him for becoming MVP. So these are just, small tokens of the things that they do. Like I said, for Christmas, unbeknownst to me and my son, they came, they knocked on the door. They just wanted to see what he got for Christmas. They show interest in him, and that's what he needed. He needed to feel like someone cared about him outside of me, and that's what they provided.
Wow. So tell me about before, when Carlton needed help, really, what you thought his future was going to be, and now that he's headed in the right direction.
I was unsure of what his future was going to be. I just didn't want him to end up on the negative side of the policing. I wanted him to be exactly how it is now. I can't even tell you the things that I thought about that could happen if he continued to go down the road that he did. So that I'm overjoyed that he's afforded this opportunity to meet these ladies and gents, because it's not only men, and he's able to explore other opportunities outside of getting in trouble. They provided that for him.
And what do you see in his future now?
NFL, NBA, some police officer, things that I didn't see prior to the program, but only off of, his behavioral aspect.
And let me ask you this, what did what you see in this program change your mind about police at all? Like, I don't know if you had a preconceived idea and then now?
Yes. I had terrible experience with the police prior, and myself and my children, we all felt this feeling of distrust and discontentment with the police department. Law enforcement is part of the reason that my home is a broken home. So when I first learned of the program, I had a lot of resistance and a lot of reluctance to allow my son to enroll, but these guys were dedicated and they were diligent to their cause. And because of that, my mechanism of defense was infiltrated because I was able to let them in and let them in my home and my family and let my children see that not all officers are bad. Not all police are here to hurt us. They're actually out here doing a great job, and I don't mind going to anywhere in this world and telling this story because it needs to be heard.
So how important do you think this kind of program is to a police force?
It's important to the police force. It's more important to the community than it is to the police force because we need to let the community know that we can foster such relationships so that we can allow them to come in and do their job and we can all coexist together. So it's important to the police. It's important to us more, in my opinion, it's important to us more than it is to them.
Anything else you'd like to add?
The most important thing that I want to say is if they don't allow programs as such to continue, then I don't know where the future would be for our children, especially our children coming from underprivileged communities. I would hate to see this program go. It means so much to myself and my family.
I know you were saying that you didn't want to think about what could have happened if this hadn't, but what was going through your mind on what might have happened with your son?
My biggest fear was him joining a gang, or like I said, ending up on the other end of the police spectrum where being arrested or just getting into trouble because there's nothing out here for our children to help occupy their time. So it leaves them to do nothing but get in trouble. Those are the things that constantly, crossed my mind as far as Carlton was concerned.
And how long do you think you'll have the personal relationship with these officers?
Forever.
Yeah?
Forever. We're family.
Great. Stay with me.
Listen, for us, this was a tremendous opportunity for them because the after-school program, the kids have a lot of energy to continue to exert. So something like this, when this came up, it gave them different outlet. And him having those other pivotal people in his lives outside of us, myself and my wife. So he had other male role models that he can talk to after school outside of myself that were instrumental in his growth and development.
Don, tell me what it's been like for you. What was it like when you first met them?
When I first met them, I was really shy. But then, once I got to meet them, I realized that they're like family to me. And then, then the next year when I came back, they all knew me. So, yeah, so it was like a bond.
What are some of the things you guys do?
Some of the things we do, they help you with your homework if you need help. They play with you, and they feed you.
Take you on trips?
They take us on trips as well.
What kind of trips have you been on?
We went to the pool. We went on a boat. We went to parks. We went to see a football game, but I didn't get to go.
So, okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem. So, tell me what you thought about, police officers before this, and then now that they're part of your family.
Well, before, I used to be scared of police officers, but now that I'm, close to some of them, I'm not really afraid of them.
Wow.
Yep.
And what do you hope to do in the future?
Either become a basketball player or a football player.
Is there, are you able to talk to these officers just about even personal stuff?
Sometimes.
So that must feel good.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things have they taught you?
Be a role model, be a leader, to be respectful.
Okay. And Mom, how about you? What kind of changes have you seen, and how important is the program?
Some of the things that I've seen is that they try their best to build a relationship with them outside of the program. Especially right now during the COVID pandemic, they've been calling a lot, checking on him, asking us if we need anything, letting us know that we can call them if we need anything. We have their cell phone numbers. I can call and text anytime I need anything. So that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that, outside of them being a mentor to him, they're actually trying to build a relationship, a more personal relationship.
What is your concern if this program is cut?
In light of everything that's going on right now, with police officers and, in the Black community, my concern is that not having this program, they won't know that they are, cops out there that do the right thing. And like my son said earlier, he kind of had a fear of them, and he doesn't have that fear anymore because of the relationship he's built with them.
I would like to add on to that, because when we talk about programs being in our community that makes a difference, if this program is taken away out of our community, then we have to look at it. Will something be replaced that's supportive for the kids? Because you have a lot of violence going on. These after-school programs give these kids a positive outlet, right? And this is when we talk about the lack of commitment, the lack of community. So we talk about officers not knowing the community. So these officers, lieutenants, they're coming out in our communities and say, you know what, we want to know you guys, and so that we can develop positive relationships, but more importantly, show you that we care. So we see them with officers, we see them with their badges on, we see them with uniforms on. So in most of our communities, it's the police against the community. But when they come in here and they say, listen, not only we want to protect you guys, but we also want to develop a relationship. And speaking as a father who's active in my child's life, there's a lot of other men that's not here to be active in these children's lives. So when we look at these male officers, they're playing that role as a surrogate father. They're playing that role as a mentor. So they're replacing the absent fathers. So if we remove them out of our communities, then who's going to be able to step up? Because we talk about problems, but now they're giving a solution. So if we want to see solutions and they're stepping up and they're listening, then we should be receptive to that. So we should try to find funding and money to keep programs like this available so that our community and our young boys can thrive, can grow, inspire to get their dreams. And some of them want to be more than just an athlete. Some of them want to be police officers. So if they have other people that they can emulate, then this is encouraging. So this is what it's about. So I think it's very important for us to understand the importance of these programs and how much it makes a difference. So when we look at the problem, the officers in some communities are looking to make a solution and make a difference. So this is something we got to continue to look forward, continue to support, so that it's not taken out of the community, because we don't want the gang violence to continue. We don't want the senseless killings, because a lot of kids, they dealing with excessive energy, and they find wrong ways as an outlet. So if we get them something constructive to do, then we can eradicate the problem.
And what do you think when you hear that these guys are just volunteering their time and even have put their own money into things?
I just want to tell two stories, right? When they first started this program, and I went with my son to the public school where they had the introduction to the program, and just support my son going there. And Lieutenant Moody got up and she was speaking, and all the officers, Bowen, Sergeant Bowen, and Detective Blanc. So they was all there, and I said to myself, I'm looking, and I looked at the whole audience. You seen all the kids running around. They were so happy. The parents was there. The mothers that their fathers wasn't there were present, and you could see the excitement in the room because they were getting something in this community that they didn't have, right? So having these people come out made a tremendous difference. But I was still apprehensive because I was saying to myself, okay, there's a new program. Let's see how it play out. But it was amazing. It was amazing when you see the officers that were volunteering, coming out on the weekends. And there were some days that I had to go to work and I was unable to take my son. They would actually call us and said, you know what, we'll come to the house, pick him up, take him to the game, and bring him back. And this is them volunteering. But more importantly, we had to say to ourselves, I trusted them with my son. Right? So these are individuals that said at the end of the day, I'm willing to allow my son to go play with them and work with them because we develop a relationship. So them volunteering, that speaks volumes, because it's not about a paycheck. These are men and women who said, you know what, I want to be committed to the service of the community. I want to give back. And they wasn't just talking, they were actually doing the work. So for me, as a parent on the outside looking in, I commend them. I have the utmost respect for them. So, I support them in everything that they do. And I tell parents that we have to continue get together to support the officers because, as you stated, they're volunteering. So they doing their shifts and they putting their life on the line in these communities. Then afterwards, they saying, how can we give back to our young youth, the parents in the communities? And the only way it starts by developing the trust. And that's what they started doing. And it wasn't about a dollar. It was about a relationship. It was about a vision. It was about commitment. So I'm humbly thankful. My family's thankful. My son is thankful. And for all those who aren't able to speak their truth and speak their thankfulness and appreciativeness for what they're doing us, we are. This is why we're here, because it makes a difference. And I thank Lieutenant Moody, because she had a vision and she was discouraged at one time. And to see her follow through with her vision and see the outcome. Because this last week we had a graduation, right? And these kids graduated from 5th grade. And because of COVID-19, they were unable to have a successful graduation. But once again, the Far Rockaway Coach program were creative. So they said not only are we going to graduate them, give them a little graduation ceremony, but acknowledge their work in the program, but also let the parents see that, we proud of the kids because they were able to multitask. They were able to play football during last season and the hot summer and still maintain their grades. And that says a lot, right? Because the officers tell them it's not just about playing football. It's about the academics. So having a graduation for the kids, they were proud. My son came back and he told me he really enjoyed that. So I'm gratefully and humbly thankful that they were thinking creatively to ensure that our kids had a formal graduation in a sense. So these are the things that the community is getting that they didn't have in the past. And these are the things that we can continue to grow with when we have officers in the community and our parents is working collectively together. So we want stuff like this to keep going.
That's amazing. Thank you, Say Right.
He was getting bullied, and he kept it a secret from me. He just was like, oh, I don't want to go to school. And I kept saying, but why? He wouldn't tell me, of the embarrassment to tell me and his dad. So I kept wondering, why you giving me so much problems going to school? And it was like he got to the point where I would talk to him. He just didn't answer, the attitude. And I kept saying, is something wrong? And he used to see the officers at the school all the time. But, they just come near to the school. So then a lady called me and she said that the officer's been watching him because he's very tall and skinny and he's running around and, so they asked me about the program, because it's not only flag football, it's, mentoring, teaching them different things. And I said, well, okay, I'll think about it. And then when they told me it was officers, I was like, no. I said no, because I'm from Brooklyn. And we don't deal with the police. And when she said officers, I was like, ugh. Then I talked to his dad. His dad was like, absolutely not. But once we met with them and we had a conversation with them, Coach Pat, which is Officer Pat, he spoke with my son. And I don't know what he said, but my son was like, Ma, let me just try it out. And as he was dealing with them on a daily basis, he was able to tell them that he was being bullied. So, they talked to the kids and, told them, this is not supposed to be, you guys are supposed to get along. Then after a while, everybody started getting along. And I guess they was kind of intimidated because it's like he got these big best friends, So let me leave him alone. And he started wanting to go back to school. He didn't really want to play football. He didn't really want to play football because he's a gamer. So it was taking too much time. But, as the time went on and they was, talking to him and showing him different things, he's really good. He's really good. He's excited to tell people, Officer Pat and Officer Frankie, they come and they call me. These are things that we need for the kids. You understand? Because his dad is there. But, two people really can't raise a kid. They have to have other people that they can depend on and look to. And that's what he gets from them. They show him that it's other people outside of your mom and dad that cares about you and can help you. And if you can't talk to your mom, call me. Tell me what's going on. Because, the kids get embarrassed to tell their mom, somebody's bothering me. I'm embarrassed because of this, because of that. And it's easier for them to tell a stranger. But now these officers literally became part of my household. They call all the time. They visit. They ask him, do he need anything? It's very emotional because I never thought that somebody outside, who don't know you, care so much. And it's genuine. It's not like they doing it for a paycheck or doing it for show. They really want to show these kids it's more out here than violence, and ignorance. And it's like they motivate them, to do better. He passed his classes because, they said to him, if you do this, you're going to do that. And he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And he did it. Because, see, his thing is a challenge. Everything is for a challenge to him. When he feels that you're giving him something, and he's like, and I tell him, don't give up. We don't give up around here. I said, you try until you can't try no more. And, Coach Pat always tell him, you're going to come and tell me that you can't do it? Why is it that you can't? So he don't listen to him unless he gives him a reason of why he can't do it. And he's in Atlanta now with my sister for the summer. And he missed them. He FaceTimed them all the time. And he goes, when I come back, we're going to hang out. He wants to play football now. But, I have to be honest. When he first started, he didn't want to do it. But he's gained a lot of friends. Because, all the little boys, they stay together. They call each other. They visit each other. So they spreading the word, that everything doesn't have to be an argument, or a fight, that y'all could get along and learn from each other. Because he's literally learned a lot from these kids. He has. And, he's happier now. He wants to go to school. He has a promotion. He's going to junior high school now. He was excited to tell them, I passed, I'm going to junior high school. So they cheer him on, about it. So I find that he's a little happier now, than he was. If he can't tell me, he definitely called them and tell them. And that's what I needed. I was embarrassed to tell them that I was losing control. Because I'm talking to him. He doesn't listen. He's like, I'm going to do it, but he won't do it. So, it's embarrassing, because me as a parent, I try as hard as I can. I have a 26-year-old, so they're 15 years apart. So it's like to start again, they really help me out. They really help me. They tell me, whatever you need, call me. They made sure he went to the after school program, did his homework. They dropped him home. That's what I needed. And I didn't know that I needed it until I was offered it. Yeah, so they definitely have done a lot for me and my son.
Stay right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Neighborhood Coordination School Initiative, NCSI.
Okay. And it started back in 2018?
It actually started in 2018, but I'm going to be honest with you. It was a documentary that I saw on HBO Sports back in 2014. It was actually on Real Sports. And it highlighted the relationship between the LA Police Department and the community. I was working with schools at the time as the commanding officer of a unit in Patrol Borough Queens South, and I thought, wow, we could do something here in New York City. So I think it was 2015 when I introduced the idea to my boss, and he loved the idea. And then I was introduced to my detective who you'll meet, Detective Blanc, and we decided to fly to LA, and we worked with the Los Angeles Police Department. We went on our own money to go out to LA to try to figure out how we can best utilize this program in New York City. So when we got back, we took all of their information, and then it was up to me to decide where would this program fit best. We chose Far Rockaway. If you're familiar with the community out here in Far Rockaway, it's isolated. It's not a lot for kids to do out here. And because of that, I find that the gangs are very prevalent out here. I always tell stories to people that the reason why I do it is because at the time, we had a 16-year-old boy that was riding home from school on a bus, and he gets shot and killed while walking off the back of the bus. Or to that child that went in the housing development to walk up the stairs to see his friend, and he's shot at 16. Or the one that I really take it to heart, a child from Beach Channel High School, 18-year-old football player. He was walking by one of the housing developments, and I guess a group of 10 kids decided to jump him. He runs across the street. He runs into one of my police officers in the van. They take him up to the beach area, and he gets into the van because he didn't want anyone to see him, and he cowers at their feet because he was so afraid because he did not want to join a gang. That's what motivated me, and that's why I put everything, my career, everything behind trying to get this program started.
So now the kids who started in 2018, did it start with 50?
No, the concept was to have 100. We wanted to do 80 boys and 20 girls. But the response to the program was so overwhelming that we decided to fill all 100 spots with boys. So this program is for boys ages 9, 10, and 11 years old. And we gave the DOE the right to choose what kids they thought would be best. When I thought about it coming back from LA, I said that I believe the Department of Education, they know families more than we do. They know their kids. As I always say, there's 100 reasons why these kids are in our program. It could be anywhere from single-parent household. Parents may work late at night and their kids are left to their own device at night. And you know when you're idle by, a lot of trouble can occur. Some of these kids probably have siblings that were in gangs before. Some of these kids probably are not doing very well at school or not coping. It's a myriad of things why these children were chosen for the program. And I think that DOE chose right. So we had over 100 applications. And every year we go forward, there's even more, and we don't have enough to accommodate them.
Oh, wow. So once the kids are in the program, do they continue throughout the years?
They do.
And does it only go from 9 to 11?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I do have a few that I hold on. I'm like Mama Bear. I hold on to a few because I believe that this program is essential for them. So we're not in the high schools, but we do have some kids in the high schools. And I make it a point to my officers, we will engage. The key to this program is relationship. The mentorship part is essential to our program with the police department. Mentorship, relationship, and the consistency is what I believe is bridging the gap. When people ask why is it like the division between the community and police, there's no relationship. This program forces relationship, and that's why I believe it works. So we're in Beachtown. I tell a quick story. I'm full of stories. I have to tell you a quick story. We have a young man that ended up in Beachtown High School. I made it essential that my cops go into the school, explain the program to their principal and to the teachers. When they went in there, I guess that they were so amazed at this program because they weren't part of the program, that they went into the classroom, took our young man out of class, and you know how long the hallways are in high schools? He ran the length of the hallway to hug my officers because it took him about 2 weeks to get in there. That's relationship. The kids did ask him, they challenged him, why? He said, because they're my mentors, they're my friends. And now when you go by Beachtown High School, our vans may be outside the school, you'll have dozens of kids around the van because everybody wants to be a part of something. Relationships.
Now, talk to me about the officers all volunteer their time?
Well, they are assigned to the unit.
Okay.
So they work. They have their Monday through Friday.
Uh-huh.
The volunteer part is something that myself and the detective and my bosses made it very clear. You are at their disposal. If someone's having a problem on the weekend, you must pick that phone up. If you get off work at 7 o'clock at night, if someone needs you at 11 o'clock at night, you pick that phone up. My cops, they are available to these families 24 hours, 7 days a week. If you're not available, someone else will fill in the gap and be there. A parent you cannot speak to any of my parents. Every phone call made will have a response. And that's part of the reasons why they are in this program. If you can't do it, you can't be in the program. Very important.
So wait, how many officers are in the program?
There are 14 police officers, 1 lieutenant, 1 sergeant, 1 detective, 14 police officers.
Okay. And then, so you're saying there's 100 kids in the program?
There's 100, I know, 100 kids.
100.
We actually have 117, but the program is meant for 100.
Okay. And so once you get the 100, they kind of, I guess, layer in as far as when you get new ones and stuff like that.
Well, what happens is when they are 11, or sometimes kids, they phase out the program, and what we do is we try to fill up the bottom, usually with the kids that are 9, 10, because they'll get the most out of the program, because they'll go 3 years, 2 years, 3 years in the program, and that's when I feel it works. The 11-year-old only has 1 year in the program, so we try to get the younger kids involved. And this year we had to fill, I believe 20 spots were available. We had 150 applications for just 20 spots. And I love telling another story. There's an 8-year-old that he lied on his application, said he was 9, he was 8. So I looked at his birth certificate. I was trying to figure a way to make it work. Maybe if I could say, okay, his birthday is like a month out, we can put him in the program. It was 10 months away, and he was 8. The young man came over to me, goes, excuse me, miss, if you let me in this program, I'll stop stealing the green bikes. I'm like, okay. He's in the program. He's one of our toughest kids in the program. He's tough.
He said he stopped stealing what?
The green bikes. That's the ride share, the bike program that they leave the green bikes all over Far Rockaway. And I guess that's what he was doing. But he said he would stop doing it if he would be allowed in the program. I can't deny that. He's in.
Now, so wait, so these officers are assigned to this program?
They're assigned to the program.
Okay, so they do that, that's all their shifts are on the program?
Their shift is when they are assigned. Before the program starts, they do what's called safe corridors at the schools. It's building a relationship with the schools. They are out there to make sure that the kids can go to and from their schools on any apparatus safely. So in that time, what they do is they go by, they do what we call not home visits. They do school checks. They go and check with the teachers, the principals. Any issues that go inside the school, we take care of it. We're not there to antagonize the kids or antagonize the community. We're there to work in relationship with the community, with the schools. Afterwards, they are at the schools for dismissal, omnipresent, to make sure that our kids can have a safe ride from home back and forth to school. That's what we do. Afterwards, that's when the police officers have to go to the 11 schools that participate in the program. They pick them up after their 1 hour tutoring with the Department of Education, and they bring them back to our zone school, which is Golden Maple Academy, and that's the school that we use. That's our home school. Okay. And there they receive a hot lunch. Every kid gets a meal, and then that's when we start the mentoring football portion of the program.
Okay, so the tutoring part is through the DOE.
Our partnership with the Department of Education.
And who's doing the tutoring? Is it?
There's one teacher assigned to every school. So all 11 schools has one Department of Education teacher.
Okay. And so basically they get them to the tutoring and then they take them to football?
No, what they do is they stay in their schools. They'll get the 1 hour tutoring. So whatever amount of kids are in the school, they will sit with the teacher for extended day of school. Afterwards, my police officers come in the van, pick them up, and bring them back to the zone school, which is Golden Maple.
Okay. And it's flag football they play?
Flag.
Okay.
And by the way, we were the champions of the White Point Flag Football League. We won.
Champions of the
White Point in Whitestone, Queens.
White Point Flag Football Champions.
They were.
This year?
Yes, they were.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2019, I'm sorry.
2019.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? What kind of changes have you seen in the kids and in the officers?
Okay. From the kids' perspective, as you know, a lot of our kids were brought into the program for whatever reasons. I can highlight a couple of stories. A lot of our kids, they were not in mainstream classes, and they were not able to cope. I always tell people when we first put the program together, the fights were every day. We would have 10 to 15 fights every day, the crying. They were not able to get along with others. And I remember I went back to my boss, Chief Barrett, and I said, it's not working. They're fighting every day. They're crying every day. And he looked at me, he says, Lieutenant, that means it's working. You chose the right kids. It took time to really foster a relationship with them. It took time to get them to realize that we are here all for one thing, and that's to be a team. I remember one of my police officers came up to me, and one of our kids could not understand why he had a good friend and one of the other boys in the program. He said, he lives on this side of the peninsula, and I live here. We're not supposed to like each other. He said, but you know what? He's my best friend. Through this program, through bringing everyone together and not keeping them separate, made them realize there's no difference between the two. And that's something that I take. A lot of our boys that were not in mainstream classes because of the extra help they received. And maybe now they have a purpose and they know how important they are, that they would do nothing to destroy that. They're now matriculating back into mainstream classes. Our boys went from 60 to 70% attendance to 98% attendance. They know if they do not perform in school, they cannot perform on the field. They understand that. It took a while, but they get it. And also for my police officers, I watched them grow. I don't know what reasons they decided to come into this program. Whatever the reasons are, they were chosen out of 250 applicants to be in this program. But I see the connection. These parents love these police officers, and the kids love them. The police officers love these parents because I see the relationship. Even with COVID, they still keep in contact with these families. Although we can't be with them, we speak to them every day. I have boys that will call, tough, but they'll call, just want to make sure you're okay. I see what's going on out there with the protests. Are you okay? When my sergeant was away for a week, they called him, where are you? And he says, well, I had to take a vacation. He says, but you're not seeing me. And you're all right with that? That's relationship. So I see it in my police officers when they go to a school, PS43. We had a young man that was being bullied. And he came to the program, he sat in the back of the cafeteria, and that's not like him. They challenged him, asked what's going on, and he cried and said that they want to beat me up and I'm afraid. My police officers came to me and told me, Lieutenant, I'm coming to work 2 hours early. No pay, no nothing. All 14 of them showed up. They all went to PS43 in the cafeteria, sat with him. So this way everybody will understand he's with us. And then afterwards, when you took a picture of that table, it was filled with other young people that were there that wanted to be a part of something. And by the way, those kids that bullied him, they're in the program this year. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Told you I'm full of stories.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? What is your hope for the future as far as, do you hope to expand this program? Do you hope that it goes to other areas?
I hope to expand it because although I don't like getting into crime statistics that can always bite you, I'm assigned to the Patrol Bureau Queens South, so I've been in the South for 20 of my 30 years on this job. So 20 years I spent in the schools, so I know what's out here. Prior to the program, my unit was always charged with coming to Far Rockaway, and it's never for a good reason. We're always out here because of the shootings. We're out here because of the gang violence. We're out here because kids can't walk freely on the island, as I told you in the beginning. Since this program has been, we brought the kids into the program December 10, 2019. We have not had to call a support unit into the Rockaways to stand by the schools, to patrol by the schools. It has been taken care of by the 100, 101 precinct, and my unit. We haven't had, knock on wood, a shooting of a child from the schools under the age of 18 years old in 2019 and in 2020, not during school hours. And I will attest to that. I want young men to understand and see their potential. I don't want young men to think that they're, as I think a principal said it, that their life expectancy is to school, to prison, or I may just get shot, or I'm joining this gang. I want to change the trajectory of that, and I want these young men to understand that they are an essential part of our future, and that they are needed, that they are necessary, and that they are important. And you do that with education, because that's what keeps them competitive. And you do that also with relationships and their understanding what their role is in life. And as I tell these boys when I first met them, even if you don't see it in you, I'll see it until you're able to see it for yourself. That's why I do it. And as far as expansion, I think a program is necessary in other parts of New York City, and also think other cities can benefit from what we're doing. Take it be Chicago. They can benefit from it also. The key is relationship. You don't break things apart when you have a good relationship. Our parents know that we're here for them. They understand they have a partnership with the police department, and that's what's most essential to me.
Being an officer meant a lot to me. It's like my family legacy here is very big, and from my mother, she bestowed that upon me. But I haven't felt like a sense of belonging on the department until I got into community policing, into this program in 2018. The kids make me feel like every day that I'm making a difference, every single day. Not that I didn't get that from patrol, I did, but every day it was the major difference with the kids. Every time I see their faces, whether it be a smile for coming to pick them up, or a, hey Coach Cradle, where we going today? Hey Coach Cradle, what are we doing today? Hey Coach Cradle, we playing a game today? Those things kind of made every single day for me meaningful since I've joined this program.
And how long have you been on the job?
I've been on the job a total of 4.5 years now. So I did 2 years of patrol, and then I got into truancy with my lieutenant, and she formed this. Well, she was already in the motions of forming this program, and as soon as she told me about it, I was like, "Oh, I'm game." I'm so for it. And truancy showed me a little bit about working with children, but this was just on a whole nother level.
Our boys in the program, he was having a hard time. He was bullying other kids actually.
So he was the bully.
He was bullying kids, and we would constantly go to the school and get calls from his mother and his teacher, his guidance counselor, and his principal around the clock, that he was having a tough time. And this was way in the early beginning stages of the program back in 2018. And just as the months progressed and the more we showed up to his classroom and were more personally involved in his life, and we, when we're not in the classroom and we're not playing football and when there's no school in session, we go to their homes and we see how they are at home, and we talk with their parents, and it's much more of a personal relationship. So as time progressed, his behavior, and even coming directly from the principal and from his teachers and even his peers, he calmed down quite a bit, and a lot had to do with how much we were being involved in his life as mentors. And each and every one of us bring something different to the table, to this unit. And whether I work with one kid specifically better than someone else, and vice versa, we always seem to find a way to get the best possible scenario and outcome out of each problem that we encounter. So this specific individual, he as the months went by, he became one of the captains on the team, and he became more of a leader, and he took a lot of that aggression out in sports. And it's very important for some of these young kids to have something to take that aggression out, in a safe, positive environment, but also getting a good positive reinforcement from us. So he ended up being one of our star players in the entire league, and a very personable young man. And that's what this program is about, is watching these kids come into young adults, and high valued members of our society. And then they all love us, and they're like my kids.
So no more bullying for this kid?
No more bullying at all. No issues. And he's excelled in attendance, and his behavior and his schoolwork, and his dedication to on and off the football field is just outstanding. So.
This program means to me, it means the world, because I was one of those boys growing up. Often got into a lot of trouble, and just like us being cops, I had a cop save my life, because I was heading down the wrong path. So to be able to pay it forward means the world, and I see the change in those kids that I've seen in myself growing up. And I think these kids, see that. If you're not being real, it's real transparent to these kids. So that means a lot. We had a few, this gentleman, another one of our boys, where he wasn't going to school on a regular basis. He'll miss like 2 or 3 days of school. And every day he used to come to the program, and he'll tell us how much he hates the cops, how much he doesn't like the cops. He can't stand nostalgia. He can't stand Carla. But at the end of the day, he didn't miss one day from the program. He came to school every single day, but he hated the program. He was there every single day. And in order for you to come to the program every day, you have to go to school. So what that turnaround does, he didn't miss no more days of school. He even got a perfect attendance awards from the school and from our program. That's the kind of life we're changing.
So when you were growing up, and you said a police officer changed your life around, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Queens, Hollis, Queens. I went to Andrew Jackson High School in Queens. My lieutenant might think August Martin is the best school, but I think Jackson is the best school.
And how did this officer come into your life, and what happened?
Because I was heading down the wrong path. I had a few situations where I had a disagreement with officers, and he was able to pull me to the side and tell me, like, look, if you don't go down the right path, this is what could happen to you. And he pushed me, and because of that, I felt a certain way about police officers. And because of what he told me, and he pushed me to taking a test where I never wanted to be a cop. And I took the test, and I became a cop, and I thought I could change the world. And I'm with my supervisors tell me, like, you're not going to change the world. Well, I'm looking at my boys today, and I feel like we are changing the world.
I love kids, so when I was chosen to be in this program, like my partner Cradle said, it gave me a sense of belonging, a sense of, okay, I found my niche. This is what I can do in this department to make a difference. And it's made a world of a difference. We gained a whole nother family. So it means the world to all of us, not just myself.
And what would you tell people who, this will be the first time they ever hear about this program, and they may have a certain view of police officers. What would you want them to know about how much these types of programs mean to you?
I would like them to know that it's hard to trust right now, but to be kind, and it means the world to us to work with the kids, and it's our future, and we're shaping it, and we're doing big things here. So,
So my officers and my lieutenant have probably said it all. I would just like to say that someone much wiser than me figured out a long time ago that a relationship between community and police is not only nice but necessary. Not for us just to grow, but for us to coexist at all. The relationship must be fostered. And that's what this program does. It's not something that we do as recreation, that we do from our 8 hours a day. This is something that each and every person, and I'm sure you can tell by speaking with them, is dedicated to. It is ingrained in what we do. Law enforcement is a multifaceted form of employment, but what we do is no less important than someone that's taking a drug dealer off the street or a murderer, because the interactions that we have with these kids now is going to be what keeps them from dealing with us negatively in the future. And that's really all I would like to add.
Okay.
Thank you.